Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Mumbles. Today, I'm here to bring you guys another game review. Now, today's game review is on a game called Mooseman. But before we get into any of that, I do have to ask you guys, please, if you haven't already, do make sure to subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. It helps keep you guys involved in knowing when videos are coming out. And also, please do click that little notification bell, you know, the little ringy-dingy thingy. So make sure to click that too. It helps you keep up to date and all that good stuff. And yeah, guys, now let's talk about Mooseman. Now let's get into this game review. Now Mooseman is a game developed by Morkesha. I probably said that wrong and I apologize. But it's a game developed by Morkesha for $6.99 on multiple consoles, including the Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Mac, PC, and Linux. So basically any system you could want on, and you can pick up this game for about $6.99 on those systems. So what is Mooseman about? Basically, this game tells the story of the perm culture and basically follows a Mooseman as he journeys from the lower valley up into the upper valley. Now, along the way, there's all different kinds of spirits and things that are going to go on. Things are going to go crazy. There's going to be things that attack you. Different things are going to happen. But the main idea of this game is you're Mooseman. You are journeying, as I said, from the lower plane to the upper plane. Along the way, things are going to try to stop you from getting there. You want to be able to work around them, work around these puzzles, do what you have to do in order to get there, and eventually, you will make it to your destination. That's all there really is to this game. Kind of Limbo-like in that sense, in as much as it's kind of a confusing game to start with, but as you proceed through it, you kind of understand what's going on. Now let's talk about the graphics, the soundtrack, and the controls. First off, the graphics in this game are very well done. They're just pretty overall. Graphics are interesting. Like at one point you're adventuring through this cave type place, and you can see all these cave drawings. And it's just something that really catches your eye, and that is the way the whole entire game is. There's always something interesting going on either in the death realm or in the real world. And it really is eye-popping. You could almost just stand there and stare at some of this stuff. It is so interesting and unique for a background or for graphics of a game. So graphical-wise, this game will please your eyes. At least it did mine. Okay, now let's talk about the soundtrack. Now, they really knew what they were doing with the soundtrack because basically, when a high moment hits, you will have music that relates to that high moment. When a low moment hits, you will have music that relates to that low moment. But for the most part, the soundtrack in this game is very low-key, soft, and very understated, which is a good thing in a game like this because it's about the experience. So you don't want, you know, rock music playing in the background. This game hits the right chord as far as soundtrack goes. Now, control-wise, there's not a lot to the controls of this game. You have a button to switch in between the death realm and the real world, and you basically move the control stick back and forth depending on which way you want to walk. That's all there is to it. Not a lot control-wise there, so the controls are really good. Now, let's talk about the gameplay. Now, this game really is very Limbo-like, and I know I've said that a couple times now, but it's the truth. Very Limbo-ish type game, and for the most part, that's not a problem. This game has puzzles, it has different things that you have to get around, it has story type elements to it. It's got a lot working for it, just like the original Limbo did, and they do a good job of mixing it all up, placing it together, and making it work. Now, puzzle-wise, are the puzzles too hard? No, the puzzles aren't too hard. In fact, at one point I came up to a puzzle, and I hadn't really been paying attention to what was going on in the environment. You know, I had other things going on and stuff like that. I was able to guess basically the combination of how I was supposed to push these buttons without even looking at the environment around me. So these puzzles are not too hard in this game. They are just a nice, perfect balance. Now, as far as the difficulty in enemies and things like that, bosses, the enemies and bosses aren't too difficult. They're definitely no more difficult than they were in Limbo or the other game. And for the most part, you'll be able to beat the bosses. It might take some doing, but you will be able to beat them in a relatively short amount of time with little trial and error. Now we've talked about all that, let's talk about the cons of this game. The first con is that while I do understand the creators wanting to keep this, you know, kind of in a historic type place, when you start out the game, there's a tribesman talking, and she's talking in like Russian. And for me, I kind of lost some of the story just having to read it, which is okay, but my first con is going to be, I wish that this game was voiced in English, because I just feel it loses a little something when I have to just read it, and then I got her talking in the background, and it was just kind of distracting me, because, you know, if you just gave me like the text, had me read it, and then told it to me in Russian, that'd be one thing, but you're doing both at the same time. I don't know. It shorted out my brain. My brain was like, oh my God. And I was just like, ah, and you know, too much going on. So that's my first thing. I wish it was framed in the language that is your tongue. So, you know, if you're German, then I wish it was framed in German, blah, 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 blah. I wish the text and the voice were the same. That's what I'm saying. Okay, my second and final con for this game is that this game doesn't have good replayability at all. You know, Limbo has some replayability because it's one of those games, it was the first of its kind. You know, I could see myself going back and replaying that right now because I don't remember a lot of it, because it was such a great game. This game has a replayability problem. Yes, there are collectibles you can get, but for the most part, once you're done with it, you're going to be done with it. So that is a con, albeit maybe a smaller con. Now, let's talk about the overall score for this game. Now, this is a really cool game. I love these Limbo Inspired type games. You know that I do. And for a studio of only 2 people, this game is really well made. I gotta be honest though, the fact that I kind of lost the story in the beginning, that's gonna be a detractor from this game. And I'm not really gonna downgrade it so much for the replayability, but just that I got lost in the story, it kind of made it hard to get into. I finally did get into it, but that was kind of a big detractor for me. So I gotta be honest with you guys and give Mooseman a 7 out of 10 today. Still a great game for a great price. I definitely recommend it to anybody who likes Limbo or those kind of games. It's a great game. It's not a clone. It's different. It's got a whole story to it, a whole backstory. It's really cool. I definitely recommend it. Check it out. Anyways, guys, this has been another episode of Mumbles. I want to thank you guys all so much for joining me. Please smack that subscribe button, smack that like button, smack all those buttons, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Bye-bye, everyone. Take care.